So, who is responsible for what's happening to our planet? Well, the five worst emitters of greenhouse gases include developed and developing nations. These are the top five: China, the U.S., India, Russia, and Japan. Their emissions account for almost 60% of the total. The 28-nation EU bloc is responsible for about 12%. China is the worst polluter, and it shows as residents of Beijing struggle with dangerous smog. China pumps out more than a quarter of the total global emissions, and India is planning to build even more coal-fired power stations, that is, despite the fact that it's the world's third worst polluter. Many nations at COP21 will be trying to secure a stronger commitment from India to reduce its emissions. Let's cross to Adrian Brown to talk more about China, though. So, Adrian, what has China been willing to do? How have they been handling these talks so far?
Well, Rochella, China is unique. It is, as you've just pointed out, a heavy polluter, but it's also possibly spending more money on combating pollution than any other country, as it should, say environmentalists. Ahead of this summit, China said it wanted to achieve decisions that were pragmatic, positive and balanced. And balanced has been a recurring word today. We heard it in that address by Laurent Fabius, the French foreign minister, a short time ago. China, of course, has also been stressing again and again that it wants to be treated as a developed nation, even though it's the world's second largest economy. And there's a very good reason for that, Rochella, because if China were to be classified as an industrialized nation, it would have to make a huge contribution to that international fund that has been set up to help countries currently suffering the worst effects of climate change. So it's clinging to that developing nation status, and that is possibly why we have friction in Paris at the moment, and one of the reasons why we don't have the agreement the world is currently waiting for. Rochella.
The timing of this summit could not have been worse. The government there in China had to issue its first ever red pollution alert. The optics of that are just terrible, and the video we're seeing is just evidence of that. So what kind of pressure is on China?
Well, I think China wants to try and rehabilitate itself in the eyes of the world. It doesn't want to be the bad boy in the environmental debate. But as you rightly point out, China took the unprecedented measure just a few days ago of issuing this red pollution alert. It resulted in the number of cars on roads being halved. Factories had to reduce or stop production. But these were stopgap measures, Rochella. They didn't actually reduce the pollution. What caused the pollutants to be dispersed just a few days ago was strong northerly winds. The pollution has returned again today. Currently, the air quality index, where I'm standing at the moment, is 356. Anything over 100 is considered dangerous. And if you go online, there is an awful lot of disgruntlement. Ordinary Chinese people want to know, what is the government's long-term strategy for dealing with pollution? And people, I don't think, have a great deal of hope that the climate change talks in Paris are going to lead to their lives improving anytime soon. The government has said that it is prepared to shut down coal-fired power stations in the next couple of years. Not all of them, but some. And also, it has said that other industries like steel could also be affected. I've just come back from Sichuan province in southwest China, and I've been to a steel town where the mill closed 9 months ago, and the reason it had to close was it had been labelled as a heavy polluter. The closure of that plant resulted in the loss of 16,000 jobs. And the question is this now going to be the template for what's going to happen in other parts of China as China resolves to try to cut its pollution?
All right, Adrian Brown live for us in Beijing. Adrian, thank you so much.